I think that for a lot of us, Chanel used to feel like pure luxury. But lately, it kind of feels like we're paying more, but getting less, especially when it comes to anything luxury. The new Les Beiges collection is here, and with prices climbing, the pressure to deliver something truly special is higher than ever. So I have picked up the new golden eyeshadow palette and both of the limited edition Healthy Glow duos to see if this release is timeless, trendy, or totally forgettable. Let's find out. First up, we have the two limited edition Healthy Golden Glow powders, which are essentially a blush and highlighter duo. These retail for a whopping $75. They do come with the traditional Les Beiges packaging that has the beige coloring on the outside, and they also come with a limited edition velour pouch. Now, if you can't tell by the name of this product, this is a very glowy formula. Now, the highlighter side, it is a little bit more blingy, more glowy than the blush, but you will notice the blush is pretty glowy just by itself. These are going to be different from the duos that were launched, I believe, last fall. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. You can see right here from the swatch comparisons that these are indeed more glowy. This is a summer release, so it's supposed to give a bit more of like that summer glow. So just kind of keep that in mind. The ones that were launched last fall, they are a little bit more subdued, especially the blush, and they're just not quite as shimmery. In fact, this actually seems to be the exact same formula as that pastel fuchsia blush that they launched maybe like 2 or 3 springs ago. Do you guys remember that? Chanel lovers, comment down below. Let me know if you remember that launch. Pretty much the exact same formula, except we have different colors. And I'm going to show you in natural light with no filters how these apply to my fair skin tone. But before we do that, I do just want to mention these don't have any fragrance. Yay, at least I'm happy about that. There's no talc. They are made in France, and you do get 6.4 grams of product, and these have an 18-month shelf life. First up, we have the lighter of the two duos, which is called Eclat de Soir, and I would describe this as a neutral pink with a warm light gold. This formula, I must say, it looks a lot smoother on the skin than I thought it was going to be, and I did feel that way about the pastel fuchsia blush when I first purchased that a couple of springs ago. When you swatch these, they look like they're going to be quite glittery, but you can see right here, especially with the blush, when you buff that onto the skin, it does look a lot smoother and it does impart a very beautiful glow to the skin as well. I would recommend for these powders a fluffier brush as long as you can fit it into the pan. I feel like a buffing brush, something fluffier, is really the way to go so that you don't get a ton of sort of shimmery sparkles sticking to one part of your face. I will link down below, by the way, guys, all of these products and any brushes that I used during this demo in case you want any recommendations. The blush is a very, I guess, average, subtle pink. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with this shade. I think it looks good on my skin tone, but I also don't really feel like there's any nuance to this shade. I feel like I've seen this shade a million times over, and I will show you some comparisons in just a second, but it's fine. It looks nice and smooth on the skin, but I can't say that the shade is anything special. The highlighter, I definitely thought this was going to be a little too deep for my skin, but I actually think it looks pretty good. I think some of you out there may find that this is a little bit too warm for you. I think it's an interesting choice that they paired this rather warm, slightly like medium toned highlighter with this lighter toned pink blush, which seems like it would be more so for fair skin tones. I kind of see what they're going for here. They tried to pick a lighter blush and then a highlighter that would give some warmth to the skin because this is a summer collection. This is supposed to be giving us like sunset vibes, but I do think it was an interesting choice. I'm not so sure that these two colors really go together. All that being said, I think it looks pretty on the skin, but I don't know if everybody is going to be pleased with this combination. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to be enjoying this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really helps me out. And if you are new here, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Sophia, and I upload new videos just like this every single week, all about everyday beauty and accessible luxury style. I film all of my beauty videos in natural light with no filters. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button to join our fam. We seriously would love to have you. The deeper of the two duos is called Soleil, Couchant, and I would describe this as a warm terracotta blush and a warm medium gold. This for sure is going to be a lot warmer than the last one. The blush, in fact, looks almost orange. It looks a little bit crazy in the swatch, I'm not going to lie, but trust me, it looks a lot better when it's buffed into the skin. You know, this is designed, I think, more so for medium to deep skin tones, but if you have the right brush, you can use this if you are fair like me. You can see right here in the demo, I'm just buffing the warm terracotta blush into my skin. And as long as you don't apply too much, I think it looks really beautiful, very warm, very natural. As long as you like warm tones like I do, if you like that kind of bronze, almost sunburnt type of look, I think you're going to like this blush. The highlighter, I was curious to see if I can make this work for me. I think because this formula, compared to some of the others from Chanel, which are very smooth, because this one is a little bit more, almost like less pigmented, more blendable, you can sheer this out very easily with a buffer brush. It's almost like a blush topper for me. I kind of buff it all over the cheekbone instead of doing one stripe because that would look kind of silly on my skin tone. And I don't know, comment down below. Let me know what you think of this look with Soleil Couchant, but I actually think it looks really, really beautiful. And between the two, I do think that I like this one more just because I prefer warm tones, and I guess it's like a little bit more different. You can make this work for you, but obviously it is more on the medium tone side and it is very warm. Now, we have had recently, however, several other kind of glowy and warm toned cheek product releases from Chanel, namely the Jeux de Lumière Oversized Face and Eye Palette. So I want to show you guys a comparison with that. This formula is pretty different. The formula that you're going to get in these new duos, I would say it's a little bit more blingy, it pops more, it just gives you a little bit more oomph, especially from the highlighters. The Jeux de Lumière palette, the formula is a lot smoother, it's a little bit subtle, it's a little bit more pearlescent as opposed to like very, very finely milled glitter, if that makes sense. Hopefully those comparisons are helpful because you can see, just because Jeux de Lumière is pretty warm, you can kind of get a very similar vibe that you get with these. You don't really get the exact tone of pink from the lighter duo, but you can probably get something pretty similar once it goes onto the face. Also, I might add the recent Camellia Futura blush. This is not the same formula at all. It's more of like a blurring matte blush, so don't think of the comparison in that regard. The colors of this blush are kind of similar to these colors as well. Like we're seeing a little bit of repetition here with some of the warm tones, the peaches, the golds, the pinks. It's a lot of repetitive colors. So I just want to put that out there in case you purchased either of these recent releases. And then I do think it is very important to mention that these are actually pretty similar to my beloved RMS Redimension Hydra Powder blushes. I know a lot of my subscribers have those and love them too. The formula of these is pretty similar. In fact, if I had to choose between them, I would say the RMS formula is a little bit smoother and more refined. You can see there from the swatch comparisons. And if you have a lot of those shades, especially the pink ones, you definitely can dupe this pink blush in the Eclat de Soir duo. So hopefully that is helpful. More on the duos in my final thoughts. Next up, we have the newest addition to the Les Beiges Healthy Glow Natural Eyeshadow Palettes, the shade Golden. This, I believe, is not limited edition. Usually these are not limited edition seasonal releases. They are part of a main line. And honestly, guys, I love the Les Beiges line. I love it for what it is. Very simple, easy to use, everyday, user-friendly eyeshadow palette. So this, just keep in mind, this is not supposed to be anything like particularly groundbreaking. This is supposed to be a very classic eyeshadow palette that is being added to a main line. And so that's how I'm going to review this today. By the way, this is also $75. I don't detect any fragrance. There's no talc. You get 4.5 grams of product and also an 18-month shelf life. And yes, it is quite warm. I mean, it's called the Golden palette, so I would kind of expect it to be. However, I do want to point out from the swatches right here that most of this palette is more so a rose gold. It's more of like a warm rosy tone. You do get one very intense gold. And then one thing that is different from, I think, pretty much all of the other Les Beiges palettes is that this top shade right here, it's usually like a very smooth, very subtle kind of base shade or highlight shade, I guess you could say. And in this palette, it's a really beautiful, finely milled topper shade. And it's kind of like a little bit of a duochrome. You have little specks of pink, light gold, and a deeper yellow gold. It's really, really pretty. It's very Chanel, not too chunky, not too crazy. Let me show you the look that I created with the Golden palette. The first shade that I went into is the beautiful, soft rose gold shimmer. This is such a beautiful shade. It's so soft. I put that all over the eye. Very, very smooth and wearable, just like all of the Les Beiges eyeshadow palettes. This is a really good shade if you just want, boom, like a quick one and done type of look. If you want to add a little bit of depth, however, you're going to do what I did next, which is go into the soft rose matte shade, or at least it's a little bit matter than the last shade that I went into. This is going to give a little bit more depth, a little bit more definition, but again, it's still really easy to use. It's nothing groundbreaking, really simple, flattering shade. Then I went into the other satin matte, which is a deeper brownie rose tone. Using a smaller brush, I created a little bit more depth on the outer corner of the eye. By the way, this is kind of how I would build the look. You could kind of stop at any point if you feel like it's too much. This is how I would go from very, very basic one and done to the full look that you see on my eyes today. So I went into the deeper one to add a little bit of depth. Then I went into that very pigmented, shimmery orangey gold. This is gonna be the one shade in the palette that I think a lot of people out there, if you don't like warm tones, you're not going to like. This is gonna be the shade that really ruins it for you. Personally, I think it's really pretty. I think it layers over the other rosy shades very, very beautifully. I have used this palette several times creating different looks, and depending on how you use this shade, the look could be more rose gold or it could look more gold. It really just depends on how much you use this shade, but I feel like it's still a good formula, very easy to work with. Then finally, I went into that shimmer topper that I mentioned earlier, and I applied that to the inner corner, just the center of the eye, just to add a little bit of glimmer. You just want to apply it sparingly, and you get a little bit of shimmer to your look. And then this is the final look, my friends. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Is this way too warm for you? How do you think it looks on me? I do have a slightly golden undertone, and I love warm tones, so I think this is perfect for me, but I could totally see how this would be perhaps a little bit too warm toned for some of my subscribers out there. And actually, because of that, I do want to show you a quick comparison with the Les Beiges Warm palette, the one that's called Warm. These I think are pretty different. The Warm palette is more of like a light, fresh, peachy type of tone. There's also a more cool tone brown in there. It gives a very different effect, I think. This one is much more golden. It's a little bit richer. It's a little bit more intense, more pigmented. I think you can see the difference there in the swatches. I also received a request from one of my subscribers to compare this palette with the one that is called Deep. I can see why you would want a comparison, because when you see the photo of this on the website, you're like, oh, there's a lot of golden tones in there. But in fact, this is a much cooler tone palette. So if you want some gold tones, but you don't want it to be warm, the Deep palette might actually work better for you. I love this palette, but it is very, very different from this new one, Golden. Just taking a look at some of the comments that I've seen from my subscribers since we saw the release of this palette, it does seem like a lot of people are kind of disappointed in this release. They don't feel like Chanel is really bringing anything new to the table. It's very basic, it's very boring. Obviously, if you don't like warm tones, you're probably disappointed in this release. However, I do want to defend Chanel a little bit when it comes to this palette in particular, because it's not seasonal. It's not limited edition as far as I know. This is a part of a main line. And when you take a look at that line, in fact, most of the color stories are neutral, or they're kind of like neutral cool leaning. The last palette of these that they launched, if I'm not mistaken, is the one that's called Cool. So that one was cooler tone. It had a cooler undertone with kind of like purples and pinks. I think they're just trying to add something different to the lineup that they already have. Is it groundbreaking? No. Is it an absolute must-have? No. Is it a must-have for me because I love the Les Beiges line and I haven't been disappointed with a single palette that I've tried? Yes, I'm very happy with this. I think it's a really beautiful palette. I've worn it several times since I've got it, and I've only had it for like about a week now. If I only have a couple of minutes to do my makeup, this is a great product for me to pick up. So if you're into these tones, I don't think you're going to be disappointed, but I will be honest with you, for $75, if you have a lot of eyeshadow palettes in your collection, it's not going to be anything super groundbreaking. It might not really be enough for you to go reaching for your wallet, and I totally get that. Okay, now the duos, I'm going to be a little bit more critical about these because they are a seasonal release, and I think that seasonal releases, number one, they should be seasonal, and I also think they should be a little bit special. If you are going to charge the prices that you are charging for these, they should be something interesting. They should be something memorable, something that I'm like, oh yeah, remember that one blush from that one season like 3 springs ago? There are products like that from Chanel, but the question is, are these one of those products? I actually like these, you know, as you saw in the demos, I really like the way that they look on my skin. I'm actually surprised that they work for my skin tone. When I swatched them, I thought they were gonna be a lot chunkier. I wasn't thinking they were gonna look this smooth on my skin. I think they look really beautiful. However, I don't think that these are special enough to warrant the price. There's nothing in particular that really stands out about these duos. The prices are increasing and our standards are changing. I feel like we are really looking for more from these luxury brands. As the prices increase and there's other brands that we can shop from, I feel like we are demanding more, especially from these limited edition releases. And I do think they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit because so many of their recent releases are pretty similar to this, like the Jeu de Lumiere palette, too similar, too many similar tones and colors. Everything is glowy. Like, how many glowy cheek products do I need? The Camellia Futura blush as well, it's like you're getting the peaches and the pinks. Like, we keep seeing a lot of the same shades. So if you're feeling a little bit exhausted with some of this repetition, I totally get it. If they hadn't launched those other things, maybe I would feel a little bit more excited about these. But as I look through my collection, I feel like I have a lot of this from Chanel. And in fact, some of those releases are a little bit more interesting. The duos that they launched for fall, I believe it was fall last year, I think that those shades are a little bit more nuanced, and the combination of the shades is also more interesting and more unique. I don't think that this is bad. It's just like, there's nothing interesting about this. I feel like they could have been a little bit more creative with this release. I know it's Les Beiges, and usually, I mean, it's called Les Beiges, right? You usually get like a bronzer, something very basic for summer, because I think summer is supposed to be a little bit like easy and free, you know, easy breezy, summery, bronzy. But that being said, I don't think that that needs to lack creativity. I feel like maybe they could have played into some of the trends that we're seeing right now. Like lilac is a really big color. Maybe lilac with like a warmer highlighter. You could have even just done a light peach with maybe a more interesting type of highlighter, something that had a little bit of like a reflect in it. If you're not gonna play around with nuanced shades and you're just gonna do something basic or very safe, then choose the safe colors. Give like a light nude blush with like a very light nude champagne highlighter for the lighter one at least. I feel like this one is okay, but it still might be a little bit too orangey for some people's tastes out there, you know, regardless of their skin tone. And I know that there are other products in this collection that I didn't choose to review, but those didn't seem particularly interesting or groundbreaking to me either. It does seem like these are supposed to be the highlight, like the standout products of the collection, and they just kind of missed the mark for me. They're not hitting the classic elegance that I love from Chanel, but they're also not fulfilling my desire for something more nuanced, different, or creative. Because it is so expensive, they really need to bring it with these seasonal collections. It really needs to be something special, or it needs to be something that's like kind of a no-brainer, really, really basic, need to have that for every day, because otherwise we can go shop from Prada Beauty, Dolce & Gabbana. They're launching Louis Vuitton Beauty and Miu Miu Beauty soon enough. We have all these other brands that we can shop from if Chanel's not gonna bring it. And I do feel like Chanel is going through a little bit of an identity crisis in trying to attract the more younger generation that likes to have fun with glow and color and pigmentation, while still satisfying their core user who likes something a little bit more softer, maybe more classic, more elegant. Sometimes that's a little bit hard to do, and that's kind of what I'm seeing play out in a lot of their seasonal collections. Comment down below and let me know, what do you think of this collection? Does any of it interest you? Do you think that Chanel has lost its touch? I would love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe, or better yet, go watch another video. Up next, we have the 5 best and 5 worst products from Chanel Beauty. I'll see you there.